Shooter to the line. Eyes and ears. Make ready.
Make ready.
Steely said target's clean. Boots in the gravel, sights on the scene. Heart hits hard, but the hand stays steady. Range officer asks,
are you ready?
Stand by.
Chase the beep.
Burn the alpha. Move your feet.
Are you ready?
Speed and power.
Stand by.
True. Hit factors coming for you.
Make ready.
Chase the beep.
Range is clear.
Run it deep.
You are finished. Unload. Hip put it down. Hold. Range is clear. So the guy that runs the USPSA program here, Franklin County Sportsman's Club, is 105 acres. We own quite a bit around here. We have shotgun operations over here. We have a 100-yard rifle range, a 200-yard rifle range, a 50-yard range, 3 25-yard ranges, and 3 12-yard ranges. We also have some archery targets out here and so forth. We run shotgun program, trap, skeet, 5-stand, and that's about it. They operate every Sunday, open, and they have special events. They shoot, is it Wednesday nights in the summertime? Wednesday nights, and Wednesday afternoons in the summertime, they shoot skeet up here, trap skeet. We do IDPA, USPSA, Steel Challenge, Precision Rim Fire, and NRL matches here as well. And 3-gun. So if you look at our club calendar, now that it's warm, every weekend there will be some type of event here, okay? So this class is USPSA orientated. Thank you all for coming. My first question, we do have one lady coming in right here. First question, has everybody here actually fired a handgun? Okay. Okay. So I've got some helpers today. Steve Rubicaba's in the back. He's been shooting USPSA as long as I have been, or maybe even longer, which is probably more decades than we really want to count. Joe Duquette's running his camera over there. He's a club member. He shoots IDPA. He's an SO. Larry Gorkin, who checked you in back there, is IDPA SO. He shoots USPSA. He's on the board of the club. So we thank you for coming. We welcome you. This course is meant to be an introduction. This is not to make you a grandmaster. It's not to really do much other than introduce you to the sport and get you through a stage safely, okay? Our primary goal is safety in this class. USPSA is an action shooting sport, obviously. You're going to do everything with a gun that you were always told not to do, okay? The first thing we do is give you a gun and tell you to run with it, okay? Nobody else does that, okay? So safety is of primary importance. We enthusiastically enforce the safety rules. We're not range Nazis. We're not abusive, but if you commit a safety infraction that is something that is would endanger somebody, we will stop you. And worst case scenario, you get DQ'd, okay? And then we ask you to take your stuff off. You can still attend, okay? We're gonna make sure that that doesn't happen. Shooting sports are of the safest sports out there. The worst I've seen ever on a range is a twisted ankle, okay? There's a occasional nick, cut, whatever, mosquito bite, got stung by a bee once while I was shooting. But the shooting ranges are very, very safe places. So, and we enforce the rules to keep them that way, right? So we're gonna get started. We're gonna do a quick PowerPoint presentation to bring you through the basics. We'll do some Q&A. Then we're gonna do mock, make ready. We're gonna go through the range commands. We're gonna do a mock unload and show clear. We're going to discuss the targets and scoring, things like that. And then once we're done with the in-class session, we're going to move down to the ranges. We'll do some live fire. Did everybody bring equipment with them? Okay. Does everybody have a holster that covers the trigger guard when the gun is in it? So we'll get started. USPSA is an action shooting sport. What is USPSA? USPSA is action shooting. It is the ultimate practical application of a firearm. It is based on self-defense. This goes back to the late 70s, early 80s. It grew out of a sport called PPC, which was Practical Police Combat. And that was shot from a barricade with a target that was a tombstone target. It was 6 rounds neutral because revolvers were the primary firearm at the time. And every string was either 2 rounds, 3 rounds, or 6 rounds, so they all added up to 6. You stood in one position behind a barricade and you shot around the left or right. Sometimes there might be a small port in the middle. That sport was very, very popular. It was a perfect score sport. You could score a maximum 1,600 points. Over time, people shot it. It was popular, but it kind of lost the fun factor a little bit. And somebody said, hey, what happens if we move, right? So somebody put in a second barricade and you move from one barricade to the next barricade. And then the sport just evolved from there to full action shooting. So you're going to shoot a scenario where you move. There may be scenarios where you are static, but most of the time you're going to move through a course. You're going to start in one place, you're going to finish in another. Okay? USPSA is freestyle. We do not dictate how you engage the targets. If there is a restriction on where a target can be engaged from, it'll be by course design. We'll just block something. It won't be available from there. We don't tell you which order to shoot the targets in. There may be a better way to do it. That's your choice. It's freestyle, okay? USPSA is the US chapter of IPSC, International Practical Shooting Confederation. This is a worldwide sport. We just had the World Shoot in October in South Africa. There was 2,600 competitors at the World Shoot. It's huge. There's 40,000 members in the United States. There's over 250 clubs. There's clubs in every 50 states. There's clubs in Puerto Rico. There's clubs in Guam, in the Philippines. There's clubs everywhere. This is a super, super popular sport, okay? United States has, I think we're up to 4 nationals now. We have multi-gun, factory, open, and steel challenge. It's a fast-paced action style shooting. Again, you're gonna move through the course. It's a timed event. The basis of USPSA shooting is power, speed, and accuracy. They all have a place in the scoring, okay? Power is the caliber of the handgun. We're not gonna get into that because it complicates the math and it's a little hard for people to wrap their head around to begin with. 99% of the time, we're gonna be shooting what's called minor scoring. If you're shooting 9mm, you're shooting the minor. It doesn't matter, okay? Speed and accuracy is how you are scored. And we're going to get into the scoring section in a minute, but keep that in mind. The safety basics of USPSA. All ranges are cold ranges. The only permissible place to handle a firearm is the safe area. And when under the direction of a range officer on a stage. Can you help me? A little cheat sheet for you here. We don't handle firearms in our cars, in the back of the ranges, or anywhere else. When you arrive at the range, there's going to be a safe area. It's normally a table. It'll be marked safe area, no ammunition. Sometimes they'll actually have fault lines around them, wooden pieces on the ground. We do not handle ammunition in the safe area. We have guns there, we don't have any ammo there, okay? Now when we say no ammo in the safe area, if it's in your bag in a box, that's fine. Don't touch it, okay? You can even have a loaded magazine on your belt in the safe area, as long as you don't touch it, okay? So we separate the two. Safe areas for guns, you can handle your ammunition anywhere else. Other than the safe area, the only time you remove your gun from the holster or fidget with it is when you're under the direction of the range officer on the course of fire itself. Pretty simple. You can load your ammunition handle anywhere but the safe areas. When we're on the course of fire, we keep our fingers out of the trigger guard. While we're loading, unloading, clearing a malfunction, moving more than one step. Simply put, we only have our finger in the trigger guard while we're engaging targets. You notice it doesn't say on the trigger, it says in the trigger guard, right? When we want your finger out of the trigger guard, we want it out, visibly out. This is not out of the trigger guard. It's not touching the trigger. Everybody has this habit when they start. When we say out, we mean out like this. A lot of times you'll have a button, takedown button, slide stop pin, something on the side of your gun. If you get in the habit of putting your finger on that, you'll know where your finger is. There's a reason for this. We run with guns. If your finger is laid down like that, and I go face down on the ground, and you will, what's gonna happen? The gun's gonna go off. We want the finger out of the trigger guard. I've seen probably 100 people face plant shooting. I've never seen a gun go off. Okay, finger. Your holster must fit the division rules and secure the firearm and trigger guard fully covered while holstered. Appendix holsters are permitted. There's a reason we want the trigger covered when it's in the holster. People have a habit of laying their finger down, and when they start to retrieve the gun from the holster, they want to lay their finger in there, okay? We don't want the gun to go off then. We don't want it to go off until you're shooting at the target, which is why we have the teaching point on the previous presentation is to only put your finger in the trigger guard when you're actually aimed at a target, okay? When it's your turn to compete, you'll be given commands by the range officer to make ready and prepare for the course. You'll be given a start signal for the course, and you'll be directed to unload and finish the course. We'll cover the range commands in a minute. So when you're on the course itself, there's no question as to what's going on. The RO is going to be there with you. He's going to give you the range commands. That's when you can load and make ready. He's going to give you a signal to start the course. Normally it's an audible beep. Doesn't have to be, but normally it is. And then you're going to make your attempt at the course. When you get to the end and you're satisfied that you're done, he's going to unload you, show clear. We're going to replace the gun to the holster, and then you'll be finished and we can score the course. USPSA operates on the 180-degree rule. This is straight from the rule book. The 180-degree rule, often referred to as Section 10.5.2, defines an unsafe muzzle direction as allowing the muzzle of the firearm to point further than 90 degrees to the left or right of the median intercept of the backstop, downrange. Simply put, the muzzle must always be pointed downrange within a safe 180-degree arc of the shooter. What we use for this rule is the berm. Okay, so if I pretend that that wall back there is the berm, I get a 180-degree arc from here to here. So if you're facing the berm, square on, I cannot move more than 90 degrees. Okay? If you do, we're going to stop you. Okay? That also counts here and here. We don't want bullets leaving the range, and your feet are within that 90 degrees straight down. Okay? We never want a gun pointed backwards. Sometimes you have to be careful. Some people have a really, really canted holster where the gun is pointed backwards like that. If your gun is in the holster, the point in which the muzzle intersects the ground has to be within 1 meter of your body. Okay? You also have to be very conscious when you draw that gun, because people will tend to roll that gun like that. Okay? That's a 180 violation. When you're moving, 180s happen. It happens to everybody. Everybody gets DQ'd. You've been DQ'd.
Not yet.
Not yet? Oh, okay, we'll put you on the list. You've been DQ'd.
Unfortunately.
Larry's been DQ'd. I've been DQ'd. It happens. You get excited. Things happen. And there's more rules to be DQ'd by than just a muzzle violation. Most of them have to do with loading and unloading. Everybody understand the basics of the 180-degree rule, okay? Firearms used in USPSA. There's a division for practically any firearm to be utilized in USPSA events. When competing, you're only scored against other competitors shooting in the same division with like equipment. This is it's a kind of a fallacy, a myth of USPSA that you have to spend $1 million to shoot. You don't. You can shoot this with a high point if you wanted to. Okay. You might get a little ridicule, but you can shoot it with a high point. It's broken into divisions. And we're going to go through the divisions one by one. And so whatever firearm you have, you're going to be put into a specific division. Although we post the scores for the entire match together for local bragging rights, the only people that you're actually scored against are people shooting in the same division you are. That being said, when you're on a squad, you're going to be shooting with everybody. There might be a PCC guy there, there might be open guys there, revolver, whatever. You're all going to be shooting together, but you're not scored together, okay? Different firearms have attributes that might make a course easier to shoot. You may be able to put more ammo in one division. You may have an optical sight in one division, okay? So don't get caught up in the equipment race. It's very easy for people to do that. They come to a match, they watch, they see somebody with a $10,000 gun, another $10,000 of equipment, and they think that that's what they have to purchase to compete or to be competitive, and it's bumpkus. I know people that can show up with a out-of-the-box stock Glock and just absolutely kick your butt, okay? As it said, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian, right? So we're going to go through the divisions. And we're not going to be super critical of what your equipment is and what division you are today. That's not what this class is about. This is just for awareness. Divisions are open. Open division is pretty much anything you can drag to the line, okay? Optics and recoil compensators are allowed. Thumb rests are allowed. Recoil reducing devices. There's no limit on weight. There's no limit on the size of the gun. The amount of ammunition you can put in the gun is limited by 170 millimeter magazine length. They don't care how much ammo you put in there. The magazine just can't be more than 170 millimeters long. Okay, and you'll see people shooting this. They got comps. optical sights, thumb rests, kickstands, whatever. If you have a comp on your gun, you're automatically in open division. It's the only division that allows a compensator, okay? There's a couple of divisions that have some crossover, and that's limited, limited 10, and limited optics. Limited optics is generally a semi-automatic handgun. Doesn't have to be. Generally it is. Generally it's based on a single action gun. Doesn't have to be, but generally it is. Mostly double stack guns. You cannot have recoil reducing devices other than a thumb rest. You can't have a comp. You can't have anything like that. There's no weight limit. The amount of ammunition that you put in the gun is limited by the magazine length again, but it's only 140 millimeters. So the magazine's gonna be a little shorter, okay? You can have an optic. It has to be mounted on the slide. In open division, you can mount the optic however you want. A lot of them are frame mounted. They have a different mount. In limited optics, it has to be mounted on the slide, okay? Limited is exactly like limited optics, just you don't have the optic. You gotta have iron sights on the gun. Or no sights if you prefer. You can try that if you want, but it doesn't make any difference. You just can't have the dot. Limited 10 is the same as limited optics and limited, but 10 rounds max in the gun. Limited 10 came in when the magazine ban was in effect in 1994 to 2004. It's still around. They just tweaked it last year. And this is the only division other than open where you have the choice to have a dot or not. So you can have a dot on your gun in limited 10 or not. If you have it, it has to be mounted on a slide, okay? Same gun is limited, just put 10 rounds in the mag. Doesn't matter if your magazine can hold 22, if you only put 10 in it, you're shooting limited 10. It's popular in states like New York, right? So, you know, there are places you just can't put more than 10 rounds in the gun. Production. Production is meant to be like the entry level, okay? It's super competitive. As I said, there are people that show up with a production gun and just absolutely kick your butt. Has to be a double action or safe action firearm. Glock, Smith & Wesson M&P, Beretta, 92, CZ, double action, any of those. First round has to be fired double action. Iron sights only. You can put 15 rounds in the gun, okay? There's some limitations on your holster and magazine placement, okay? It's a great starting point. It's really easy to start there. Carry optics is basically a production gun with a dot on it, okay? SIG, 329s, the X5s, any of those. A lot of people shoot those in production, and they switch over to carry optics with it. When you do go to carry optics from production, you can put as much ammo in the gun as you want, as long as that magazine doesn't exceed 140 millimeters. So the only two magazine lengths you need to remember is 140 and 170. It's the only two measurements we use. Revolver, I mean, it's just what it is, right? Double action, single action, we don't care. I've never seen anybody with a single action revolver at a USPSA match, but I think it'd be pretty cool. So the reloads would definitely suck up a little time. Single stack. Has to be a metal framed 1911. Single stack magazine only, no double stacks. You can't use a 2011 in single stack. Okay, has to be a single stack magazine. There are two different round limits. One of the reasons is this gun has to fit into a prescribed box. Production gun does too. So it has to fit into that box, so the magazine can't really extend from the base. If it's 9mm or minor caliber, you can put 10 rounds in the gun. If you're shooting a major caliber, we're not going to get into the math on that today, but if you're shooting 45, you can only put 8 rounds in the gun. Basically because the magazine can't stick out far enough to put more in there, okay? It's going to be an iron-sighted gun, has to be a 1911 pattern, has to be metal. Okay. And then we have PCC, pistol caliber carbine. It's a semi, it doesn't have to be a semi-auto, but it is a carbine, pistol caliber, 9mm 40-45. Other than that, there's no limitations. It can be any length, doesn't matter. You can use a 7-inch barrel, you use a 20-inch barrel. You can put a 780 round magazine in the gun. Doesn't make any difference. Okay. 99% of the time, somebody's shooting an AR-based platform, and they'll use like a 30 round magazine. The maximum round count in the USPSA stage is 32 rounds. So you see those guys, they'll have like a 40 round stick, and they'll just shoot the whole stage without reloading. Okay. So anybody here shooting a rifle? No? It's mostly pistols. You will see some PCC around, but it's not as prevalent as it once was. Scoring. Scoring is hit factor scoring, okay? And it's a calculation that equates to points per second. The total amount of points earned is divided by the time taken to do it. This equals points earned per second, and it's carried out 3 decimal places, okay? Don't overthink it. There's yet another myth in USPSA that it's difficult. You got to do all this crazy math in your head. You got to do all this. We score electronically on a tablet. It doesn't make any difference, okay? In the old days, we used to have a different program, and really old days, they had to calculate it out by hand. That's before I was around. And people thought it was very confusing. Don't overthink it. You want to shoot the most amount of points you can in the least amount of time. An example of this is if we've got a course, generally the highest hit that you can get earns 5 points. So if we have a 20 round course, 20 times 5 is 100 points, right? This gentleman can go out to the stage and shoot all 100 points. And if he takes exactly 20 seconds to do it, 100 divided by 20 is 5.000. Okay, he's got a score. I can get the same 5 hit factor by only shooting 50 of the points and doing it in 10 seconds. Okay, so points and speed. But you need the points, right? It's a fraction. You've got the amount of points divided by the amount of time. If you don't have any points, doesn't matter how fast you shoot. You can't miss fast enough to win. Okay? You can't. I've proven it many times. Yes, ma'am?
What's the penalty when you miss a target?
There is points deducted for that. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But basically, yes, there are scoring penalties. Okay? So you earn points as you put the holes in the target. If you have a miss, we're going to deduct 10 points. Okay? If you shoot out of bounds, we're going to deduct 10 points. Things like that. So we won't get too far into it. But generally, you want to have the hits in the target. Occasionally, you go up there and there's one less than you think there should be, but it's just the way it works out sometimes. Okay? Any questions on the basics of that? We're gonna discuss targets in a little while, so I just want you to understand how that goes. Ranking or classification system. You'll see this. You'll see people say I'm a C-class shooter. I'm a grandmaster, whatever, right? USPSA has a ranking or classification system so you can tell where you're scoring nationwide. It is a live database. Every time you shoot a classifier course, it goes in there. Based upon how you perform against other shooters in the United States, that's how you get your classification. It's the best 6 of the most recent 8, so you'll get them in there. You don't need to worry about too much about this right now, but there is a way to judge how you're doing nationally. It's based upon standard courses called classifier. These are measured courses. You can go on the website and download them. There's a measured drawing, so you can go out there with a bunch of tape measures and measure out where all the targets are. So when you shoot it in Arizona, it's the same as when you shoot it in Georgia and you shoot it in Vermont, okay? And all the scores are put into a database and it's collected. There is no perfect score in USPSA, okay? It's because of that hit factor scoring. Somebody can shoot. You can reach a maximum of the maximum amount of points you can earn on a course, but the time will cause variance in scoring. Okay, the classification divisions are U for unclassified, D for D class, C class, B class, A class, master, and grandmaster. Those are broken up by the percentage that you shot of those group of classifiers as compared to other shooters. Whoever has the highest score in the country is 100%. And that number is dynamic. Okay? If I shoot a classifier and I've got the max amount of points in the least amount of time, and I got 100% on that, this guy can come out next week and shoot it 0.3 of a second faster, and it will change that calculation, okay? Your percentage of what you shoot will go up and down over time, but your classification doesn't. If you earn an A-class card, you're an A-class shooter. Even if your percentage drops to 22 from 75, you're still an A-class shooter. Okay? There are some allowances in there for people that say you have a knee replaced, hip replaced. You know, none of us are getting any younger, right? 85, you can't do whatever. You can petition to be reduced if you wish. It really doesn't make any difference. But it's nice to know where you are ranked nationally. If you go to bigger matches, like nationals, regional matches, state championships, sometimes there are prizes designated for different levels of classification in the divisions. So it becomes a little bit more important then. Most of the time it's just bragging rights, but it is nice to know where you are. Okay. And again, there's no perfect score in USPSA. That hit factor is dynamic. It will change. I've been up, I've been down, get back up again, fall down a little bit. So we're going to go into the range commands. So before we get into this, I'm just going to discuss the course of fires. Has everybody at least got an idea of what a course of fire looks like, right? Bunch of targets, some walls maybe, some boundaries, some fault lines that you're going to have to stay inside of, right? So we're going to start you on this. So the range commands, and this is when you get called up to shoot, this is how you're going to handle your firearm and get prepared for the course of fire. The first command that the RO is going to give you is make ready. This is when you can draw your gun out of the holster facing downrange. Check your sights. If you got a dot, you want to make sure your dot's on. You can point your gun at a target, okay? You can do all that stuff. You can rack the slide. As long as you keep it pointed in a safe direction, you can do whatever you need to do to manipulate your gun. Then you're going to load it to your satisfaction. If you fail to load your gun, that's your issue. If you put the magazine in, forget to rack the slide, and the chamber's empty, and you put the gun in the holster, start, the RO's not going to correct you. We will correct you in this class, and at your first match, there is an allowance for coaching for novice shooters, because obviously they just don't know yet. But later on, after you get a little experience, if you forget to load your gun, Steve and I were at the Nationals, and there was a start, and literally forgot to put a magazine in the gun. And, you know, so he was a one-shot wonder on that one. But if you don't get your gun loaded properly, that's on you. The next command is going to be, are you ready? And this is after you've loaded your gun, applied the safety, put it in the holster. And this is a question, right? Because we want trying to make sure that you're ready for the start signal. You can say no, right? If you need a minute to think about it, you need to double check your gun, you can do that. If you decide you don't want to shoot, that's fine too, okay? But it's a question to make sure that you're ready for what's coming, okay? When they ask that question, you can choose to respond in the affirmative, the negative, or just not respond. If you do not respond, we're going to assume that you're ready, okay? Next command is going to be stand by. This is just to let you know that the RO is going to issue the start signal, okay? So we don't have a question as to whether you were ready or not. And then the start signal is going to come. Usually it's a beep from an electronic timer. Doesn't have to be. It could be a light that comes on. It could be all sorts of things. But generally it's a beep from a timer. Is everybody familiar with an electronic shot timer, right? So that's going to be the start signal. This will count your shots. It'll increment the time up. It's got a microphone in it. And at the end, like that was 5.64 seconds. That'll be your time for the course when we're done, right? So generally it's an audible signal. Doesn't have to be. It will be on the walkthrough sheet for the course. You'll hear them read that off, what the start signal is and what the stop signal is, okay? Any questions on range commands for the start of a course of fire? Okay. You're gonna, after the beep, you're gonna do what you do. You're gonna shoot the targets, however you choose to do it. When you get to the end, the RO is gonna be with you. He's gonna follow you through the course. And then we're gonna get you unloaded and get everything safe so that we can score the targets. First command is going to be if finished. And again, it's a question. Are you finished? You may not be. You can stand there as long as you want. You can look at all the targets to make sure they got holes in them. You can continue shooting. All right? Keep in mind, time's still elapsing, right? So generally people don't take a lot of time at the end. Once we determine that you're finished, there's going to be a second command, which is if finished, unload and show clear. This is when you unload your firearm by removing the magazine, pulling the slide to the rear to eject any ammunition that's in the chamber, and hold the gun open for inspection. So basically, I'm going to drop the magazine. I'm going to pull the slide back. The round that's in the chamber is going to come out. And you're just going to hold your gun open like this. The RO is going to look at it, okay? Once they're satisfied with that, next command is going to be, if clear, slide forward, hammer down, holster. And when we say hammer down, we mean hammer down. Not decock, not whatever, because if the gun's going to go off, we want it to go off right there, not later on when you're in the back, or when you go to the safe area, or you get home and forget that your gun's loaded, okay? So we want you to actually fire the gun. That's how we determine that it's empty. If the gun goes off during unload and show clear, it's a DQ, okay? It's the shooter's responsibility. The RO is gonna look in there, but it's the shooter's responsibility to make sure that the gun's unloaded, okay? Anybody shooting a revolver? Okay. Range commands are just a little bit different. And you're going to replace the gun into the holster. The RO is going to call the range clear. Ranges are clear, they're never safe, right? And then from there, we'll score the targets and paste the targets and take care of all the admin stuff. And then we'll get started again. Any questions on that? Okay. Other range commands you may hear. Stop. Generally, you'll hear this very loudly, okay? If you hear the stop while completing the course of fire, immediately stop where you are and apply the safety to your firearm if equipped. Keep the firearm pointed in safe direction and wait for further instruction from the range officer. Do not turn around to see what the stop command was given for. In most instances, the stop command is given because of a range issue not related to the competitor. So we will yell stop if you commit a safety infraction that warrants that level, okay? Most of the time it's not because of anything the competitor did. A steel target may have fallen down. They don't want you to shoot 32 rounds in the course, right? And have to go back and reload all your mags and waste the ammo and waste the time, because we would never be able to score it because the target's down. Maybe a wall blew over, it's a windy day, wall may have blown over. Somebody didn't paste a bunch of targets, something like that. 99% of the time it's not related to the competitor. But we want you to stop, just give me 2 seconds. We want you to stop where you are. Keep your gun pointed in safe direction, put the safety on. Okay, don't turn to see what's going on. You're gonna be all jacked up, trust me. But just stay where you are, we'll give you some instruction. Normally it's gonna be unload and show clear wherever you are, okay? Just so if it's a target that needs to be pasted, stood back up, steel needs to be stood back up, we'll do that. We'll bring you back, we'll restart you again, okay? Yes, sir?
You just answered my question.
Okay, so yeah, if it's not related to you, you will get a reshoot. You'll be able to shoot the course of fire again. We won't take that away from you for something that's not anything related to you, okay? Finger out of the trigger guard, right? If you're running and your finger's like this, the first couple of times, I'm gonna yell finger, okay? If you continue to do it, we'll address it at a higher level. But that's your teaching moment to get your finger out of the trigger guard, okay? Muzzle, same thing. If you start getting really, really close to 180, especially new competitors, when you're reloading, the gun's flying around, okay? If you're a right-handed shooter moving left, or you're a left-handed shooter moving right, okay? A lot of times it's really easy to bring that gun around in that direction. You'll think about that more and more as you look at a course of fire, which is a better way for you to shoot it. Right-hander shooters usually going to go from the left to the right. Left-handed shooters going to be the opposite, okay? Just because it's far easier for me to keep my gun pointed down range when I'm moving in that direction, okay? Reloads are another one. People bring the gun up, point it over the top of the berm. There's no safety rule that says you can't point it over the top of the berm. Just be conscious that if that gun goes off with it over the top of the berm, that is a DQ, okay? Because we got bullets leaving the range. So, any questions on those? Yes, sir?
I have a new 1911. I don't think it's thoroughly broken in yet, and it might jam. What if something of that nature happens?
Then you clear your malfunction, okay? When you're clearing the malfunction, make sure you get your finger out of the trigger guard, okay? Keep it pointed safely down range. 1911s never jam. I don't know why you say that.
I jammed it a couple of times.
So, if you have a malfunction, you know, if I had whatever happened, say it was slightly open, just rack it, okay, once. One of the best ways to clear a malfunction is just simply reload the gun, okay? Punch the mag out, rack it, another mag, rack it again. Just get whatever's in there out. Because you can spend a lot of time fucking around, you get 2 bullets, you know, you get one that didn't come out of the chamber, you rack the slide, you're trying to drive another one back in on top. Now you got 2 you're dealing with, and it's wedged in the magazine. The simplest thing to do is just reload. Just punch the mag out, get what's in there out, and just start over, okay? And you can do that on the clock while you're shooting, keep the gun pointed in a safe direction, keep your finger out of the trigger guard, okay? Yes, sir.
So you're suggesting at that point you put a fresh magazine in?
Yep.
Because then you're reloading at the same time?
Yep, I would.
Yeah.
Okay, because if you just had a problem with a magazine, you don't know if it's the magazine, the ammo that's in it. Sometimes you drop them in the dirt, you know. You're gonna beat the shit out of your equipment, okay? Yeah, everybody shows up with a nice shiny new gun, right? That lasts about 2 weeks, okay? So you're gonna pound the living crap out of your stuff. Yes, sir?
What's the rules of getting your mag back? I mean, do you keep going through, or do you pick it up at that time?
No, you'll get it at the end. So after you unload and show clear,
Yep.
okay, and we get your gun holstered and we get the range called clear, the RO will say range is clear, then you can go back and get your magazines. Generally, you're on a squad. We really want you to stay with the RO when he scores your targets so you can see, because you might have a discrepancy. He may say it's a miss, and you say, no, I don't think it's a miss. Okay, you can challenge his call. Generally, as the rest of the squad comes out, somebody's going to pick your stuff up. Okay, they'll hand it to you at the end. Worst case.
The big differences between IDP and USPSA. You can leave a loaded magazine on the ground.
Yep.
USPSA.
Yep.
You do not have to retrieve it.
Yep.
In other words, you can leave it there and you're not going to get a penalty.
Yeah, you can dump. When I get done shooting, I shoot a single stack 1911. Okay, there's fucking magazines everywhere. Okay, literally. So there are times. There was a match I shot last week. I used 7 magazines in one stage. So week before.
Point is during a malfunction, that is on your shooter's time. It is on you to be able to clear that. You're still on the clock, and it doesn't necessarily give you a reshoot.
Yep.
So we want to try to do that as effectively as possible. It's your shooter's responsibility to make sure your firearm, your magazine, everything is working functionally properly before you come to the match.
So
it doesn't.
if you run into issues today, we'll talk you through it.
Totally different.
Okay. If you run into issues today, we'll talk you through it. Okay. Don't freak out. Okay. It happens, right? You know, I've had sometimes you get a round that doesn't go off, right? Sometimes you get a primer in backwards. You drop mag in the dirt. Sometimes you do something stupid, like you don't really have a fully loaded magazine when you start, and you expect to shoot 15 rounds out of it, and you get 3, and the gun stops, and you can't figure out why. It's because the gun was never loaded to begin with. We'll discuss that in a minute, but yes, sir.
What if you have some like horrible malfunction, the gun just will not cooperate, and you're done?
If you can't clear it in 2 minutes, we'll just end the thing. So occasionally it happens. It's super rare, super rare. I don't think I've really, maybe twice in 25 years, seen one that didn't have a legitimate reason. It might be a squib round or whatever, but if it totally pukes on you and it just can't continue, that's an equipment malfunction. It's on you. You just won't get score for any of the targets you didn't shoot. You'll get some penalties for not shooting at them, but you know, as long as we're safe, that's what really matters in the end, right? So, okay. Any other questions, Laura?
Is each stage scored individually, or when you go into a match and there's 7 stages, 5 stages, that all of that's combined?
So yes to both. So they are scored. Each one is an individual stage, but the cumulative score is for the match. Okay. So you'll have an overall match score, and then you'll have stage scores.
And the match score is what goes to the national rating?
Yes. Well, no. The only thing that goes to national ratings is the classifier stage. So you may, club match, you'll normally show up, there'll be, let's say, 4 to 6 stages, 4 to 7 stages. One of them, generally, doesn't have to be, but one of them at every match will be a classifier stage. Only that one goes to the database. The rest are for the match score, but only that one goes to the database, because it's the only one that is a duplicate of everything that everybody else in the country is shooting. Everything else I may have made up that morning, right? So it's not fair to judge you on that if somebody else didn't shoot that. You first. You had your hand first.
How often do you have to shoot a classifier?
Whenever you want.
Yearly?
No,
Okay.
no. Lasts forever.
Do you know which stage is the classifier? Is that, we're notified of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're at the course, it'll actually, you'll see, you'll get used to it after a while. It has a sheet that you print out, it says USPSA, and it'll say CM 24.7 blah, and it'll actually read it. It'll be all the same. Did you have your hand up, or you just
No.
okay? Just it's fine. I didn't know if you were. I understand the mannerism. I was just making sure I wasn't ignoring you. Okay. So those are the range commands. We're going to go through them. We're going to do a mock walkthrough in here, and then we're going to, when we go out to the range, we'll obviously do it with real guns, right? Okay. Match sign up and score posting. So things have changed over time. Used to be paper results. You got a newsletter with the scores in it, and you read about it in the newspaper that came in the mail, so to speak. Then we evolved to some other things. There's an application called Practice Score, and this is what is used primarily for most of the scoring, not only USPSA, but Steel Challenge, IDPA, okay? And Practice Score there's 3 different apps in Practice Score. There's a web-based app. You're gonna go on there, create a profile if you like, you don't have to, but it'll allow you to sort matches and see where they are. You can sort by club, you can see all kinds of things. There's 3-gun matches, Steel Challenge matches, IDPA, USPSA, cowboy action shooting, and you can see the match, where it is. There'll generally be a description, it's at this range on this date, blah, blah, blah. And you can sign up for the match there, you can register. And a lot of times you can pay for the match right there. That's the web-based. You can also go on there and view your scores after the match is complete. The scores will be on there. There'll be a tab up top, says results. You go on there, look for your match, and see what your scores were. You can slice and dice them in there a little bit. You can look by division. You can look by stage, all kinds of things like that. It's a handy tool. There is the scoring app itself, and the scoring app is used by the club administrators to actually set up a match and score it in the tablet. Okay, and you guys will see that as well. I'll probably set up a tablet today when we shoot. Okay, so we can keep track of our scores. And then there's one called Competitor, and it's a $10 download. You can put on your phone, Android device, whatever, and it allows you to search. The only thing you can do in there is search scores. You can search by the match, you can search by person, you can do all kinds of things. But it's got a lot more analytical tools in there. You can do some comparisons, you can actually do some what ifs. If you got a stage and you're like, damn, I did pretty good, but I had a miss on this stage, you can actually take that miss away. Doesn't change your scoring on the website, but it allows you to easily do the calculation to say, hey, how would I have done if I didn't do that, right? If my time was 20% better, you can change your time, right? And say, if I was 20% faster, how would I be against this other person? Because generally you're gonna find somebody to pace yourself against, right? We all shoot together. I already recognize a couple of people in here. So we all end up shooting together in different areas and different things. So it'll allow you to do those analytics. It's handy. I like it. You can map some things out and do some other calculations in there. Any questions on that? It's just so you know where to get stuff. It's not as easy as it used to be. I hate it when I feel for new shooters when they show up and they don't know anything about practice score. So it's simple, it's free. One thing I know some people have some concerns, some don't, that people don't, if you're not a member of practice score, you don't have access to that data. So your neighbor can't go look at you and if they're of a different political mind, use that against you or whatever. So you have to have a profile to get in there. Okay, it's not just posted on the web. You don't have to use your real name either. You can be Doc Watson in there if you want. So, okay, just so you know. We're going to discuss some real world stuff here. Get my cheat sheet here. So we already discussed that it's scored with time and a timer, generally. There's some other things. Does anybody know what the absolute most important piece of range of equipment is? It's a roll of pasters. Okay. This is a participation sport. Nobody shows up, caters the event, sets it up for you, takes care of everything, you go home. Okay? Everybody's a volunteer. When you go to matches, even if you go to the nationals, the range staff at the nationals are volunteers. They don't get paid to do that stuff. Bigger matches, you may get a hotel room and 2 meals a day paid for, but they get there themselves, they do it for the love of the sport. And people spend a lot of personal time making sure that we can do this. Matches get set up by volunteers, they get run by volunteers, they get torn down by volunteers, the equipment gets maintained by volunteers. So when you're a competitor, you're not there just because you paid your money. You're expected to work, okay? A lot of us are ROs, and we do ROing. It's peer RO'd. You know, I go to matches out of state, and they're like, "You're ROing today." Okay, you know, so you shoot and help. As a general competitor, you're expected to pace the targets, stand up the steel, paint the steel. Okay, so, yes, sir.
Do we bring those with us?
No, we'll have them on the range. So most ranges, there's going to be a range box on every range, similar to this, whatever it looks like. And in there, there'll be black tape. There'll be rolls of pasters, either tan, sometimes they're white. We'll discuss that in a minute. Be a timer, staples, staple gun, because we staple the targets up. Basically anything you need to maintain the range. There'll be some wrenches in there sometimes to adjust the poppers and things like that. Everything you should need will be in a range things. A lot of times there'll be a first aid kit. We have a first aid kit on here. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, a lot of ranges will have that. Sometimes there'll be plastic bags in there. So if it starts raining, we'll bag the targets. We actually shoot through the bags. Okay, so it's kind of cool actually. But this is the most important piece of range equipment there is. Okay, I will throw these at you if you're sitting in the back doing nothing. But you know, especially when you're first starting out, it's very exciting and everybody wants to talk, and that's fine. But when we start scoring the targets, please be there to pace the targets. Okay, because you want to be able to shoot, your buddy wants to be able to shoot, everybody wants to be able to shoot. The faster you do that, the better off you are. I hate stages that people don't work on, not simply because of that, because it starts to make it really long, right? And I don't like standing around. And you know, it's a inertia thing, right? You get a little momentum, you're having a good day, do. If you stand around for an hour doing nothing out in the sun, kind of lose that drive. I like to keep busy, like to keep going. So after you finish, after the RO clears you, right, and you're in the holster, he's gonna say range clear, and he's gonna yell out the time. I'm gonna read the time off. 10:29. Whoever's got the tablet's gonna mimic that back to them, right? They're gonna say 10:29, and they're gonna enter that into the tablet. Then they're gonna start scoring the targets. Generally, we use the same pattern, okay? Generally, and this is only generally we're all pretty much going to end up in the same spot at the end of the course, right? Usually. And they're going to start scoring the targets in a specific manner. You don't score a target until you know that the RO has scored it. You don't paste a target until you know that the RO has scored it. So I'm going to walk around to the targets. So say we finish down by the door, but you started shooting up here. I'm most likely, if I'm the RO, going to walk back here and start calling off those targets. And you'll see it. People will go around. There's usually enough of us where there might be 2 people over here and 2 people over there. You just stand there and wait. The RO will come by, Alpha Charlie, Alpha Mike, okay? And if you have a question, just say, is this target scored? Can I paste it? At the end, after all the targets are accounted for, say there's 10 targets and they call off 10 targets, the scorekeeper's going to call. He's going to yell out, scoring complete, paste them, right? So you've got that affirmation that everything is done. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, it's pretty simple, but don't paste ahead of the RO. If you do, we can't ascertain the score, and the competitor will get a reshoot. Okay. So, we're going to discuss targets. USPSA, we shoot 2 types of targets. We shoot cardboard, we call them paper, but they're cardboard, and we shoot steel targets. Okay. So our paper targets, our cardboard targets, are these guys right here. And you're going to see they're 2 distinct shapes. This is a USPSA Classic target. This is an IPSC target. Both are usable. You cannot mix them in the stage, but both are usable. We can put this type of target on the stage. We can put this type of target on the stage. They score exactly the same, okay? This is the target that was used since the beginning. Due to political pressures outside of the United States in certain areas of the world, they don't allow them to shoot at humanoid type targets. So they took the head off from it, okay? Some people actually say that this is more representative. If you were to use force in a defensive situation, that this target is actually more representative because it is. We're not rectangular, right? Well, most of us aren't, but some of us are a little circular. So these are the targets. You're going to see a couple of things. These targets are cardboard colored on one side, and they're white on the other side. Anybody know what the difference is? Right? When this side is facing you, this is a no-shoot or a penalty target. You will be assessed penalties for hitting this. Many times you're going to see these orientated like this. Okay. You'll also see them used to divide 2 targets. There may be this and another one in front of it. Some people call them a hostage target, whatever. Okay, it's a no-shoot target. You are not supposed to shoot this target. Okay. Some people show up at matches and they only shoot these and they forget those. I've actually seen that. Actually, the guy that was the president of the club prior to me did that. He went to a match and there was a lot of no-shoots. Generally, there'll only be very small ratio of these to shoot targets. There may be 10 shoot targets, there may be 2 no-shoot targets. And it just happened to be one where they're about equal numbers, and he shot all these and ignored all these. So as I said, you'll see these many times. They'll be overlaid like this. It's used to reduce the available scoring area to make the shooting challenge a little tougher. Okay. We also use them for some other things to make sure. A lot of times I'll use these on the outside targets to try to kind of give you a mental indication that you're not supposed to shoot any further left or right than that. You may see these against a wall because we don't want you shooting up the sides of our walls and stuff like that. If we're supposed to shoot 2 rounds per target in here, and I shoot 1 here and I shoot 1 here, right? I don't have enough rounds in this target. I'm gonna get a miss. I'm gonna get a penalty for this, right? So the errors kind of compound themselves, so to speak, but you'll see it. This target's got the exact same thing. You'll see it like this, okay? The other thing that you will see is a hardcover target. Like so. This is an IDPA target, not a USPSA target, but the hardcover concept is exactly the same. I forgot to bring one up that was painted. You'll see targets like this. This represents a barrier, a non-penetrable barrier, okay? This is meant to simulate you're behind a wall, peeking through a door or something. Rounds in here count as misses, but they don't incur additional penalty points, okay? It's just meant to, somebody standing behind a wall, concrete wall, the bullets won't go through it. You need your scoring hits in here, okay? The targets themselves have impressed scoring areas. There's A, C, and D. They earn different amounts of points, okay? A hit is always 5 points, always 5 points. The C's and D's change. When we talked about power, there's major caliber and minor caliber. Is anybody in here shooting 40 or 45?
I brought one. I brought a 45 and a 9.
Okay, so why don't we shoot 9 today, okay? So there's major and minor scoring. Basically, if I shoot a lighter caliber, right, not as much recoil, I can get more ammo in the gun, etc. Okay, so there's major and minor scoring. It never changes the highest scoring area. 5 points is 5 points is 5 points. The C's and the D's, if you're shooting major, are 4 and 3. If you're shooting minor, a C hit is 3 and a D hit is 1. Okay, so it changes the math a little bit. With the divisions now, this has changed a lot in the past 5 years. With the divisions now, limited optics is minor only. Production is minor only. Carry optics is minor only. So there's only revolver, single stack, limited, open. Steve, can you make major in PCC if you shoot 45? I don't think you can. Yeah, I think it's minor. So the majority of scoring now is minor, so don't get wrapped up in that calculation, okay? I'm just telling you for informational purposes. So that would change how many points you earn, right? If I'm shooting minor and I shoot a hell of a lot of Ds, I'm only earning 1 point per bullet, where if you're shooting 45, you would actually be 2, right? So that'll change your score calculation a little bit. Don't get your head too wrapped up in it. We score electronically, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to do the math, but there is a difference. And you'll see that when you look up your scoring results and practice score, it'll have your name. If you're a USPSA member, it'll have your number, and then it'll say major or minor, right? And then they'll actually show each target that you shot and the overall score. So there is a slight difference, but don't get too wrapped up in it. So we have hard cover, we have no shoots, and we have shoot targets. Okay. Obviously, the most amount of points are in the middle. So we try to keep our hits in the middle. Okay. Sometimes you don't get all of it, right? You have to leave 50% of the scoring area available, right? I can't totally block out the A zone and make you only shoot C's and D's. I have to leave 50% of that available. So there's also a small A area up here, right? So that counts in that calculation. So you may not get much of this. What you'll find, we'll get into some other things. Generally, if I'm going to shoot at this target, I'm not going to try to shoot here. I'm going to shoot here. The middle of the available scoring area is the verbiage. Best. So good question. Generally, yes, okay, but it doesn't have to be, okay? We have two types of scoring. One is Comstock, one is Virginia, okay? The majority of courses are Comstock. Comstock means that you can shoot as much ammo as you want to get the amount of hits and the targets that you want, okay? I can make up shots. If I got D hits, I can just keep on shooting, okay? And that's the majority of the courses. Okay. The only downside to that is you remember that the clock's ticking, right? So if I shoot an extra 15 rounds, I'm adding time. Okay. But I can shoot as many as I want. If I'm shooting over here and I'm missing, I can just shoot till I get the hits that I want. It doesn't make any difference. We have Virginia count. And Virginia count is a prescribed amount. Virginia count will say 2 rounds in this target, Virginia count. Fire 2 rounds at it. After I fire 2 rounds for every extra shot that I fired, I will be penalized. And if I have an extra hit, I will be penalized. Okay? That can compound very rapidly. Okay? So, Virginia count courses, you'll see them in the classifiers and the standard exercises, okay? Because it controls just throwing ammo down range to get as many hits as much. You don't see them, other than classifiers, you don't see a Virginia count course very often, okay? The amount of hits per target. That is up to the discretion of the course designer. Okay, I can say it's the best 6 per target. I could put one target out there and say it's the best 32. Okay, generally it's the best 2. Generally, a lot of times the only variant you'll see 3, because people are trying to break it up a little bit different. People get a cadence after you start shooting enough. It's ba-bam, 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 ba-bam. We get used to shooting 2 all the time, so you throw a 3 in there. Okay. Number 2, it drives round count up a little bit. It changes your reload point, right? Because a lot of times if I got 10 targets and it's 2 rounds per, anybody that's shooting limited carry optics, open, limited optics, they're not going to have to reload. If I make it 3 rounds per, they're going to have to reload. So maybe not the open guy, but the other 2 are definitely going to have to reload. So you use it to change some things up a little bit. So, and it'll say when you walk up to a course, there should be a written stage briefing. Okay, and we'll go through that in a second. And it'll tell you exactly what the course is, how many rounds, how many targets there are, what type of targets they are, how many rounds each. Okay. So Again, I'm not trying to make you a scoring expert, just trying to let you know what you need to know to get along. The other type of target that we shoot at is a steel target. This is called a pepper popper or a US popper. These come in two different sizes. This is a US popper, this is a smaller. There's one that's larger, it's about this tall. This ring's 8 inches instead of 6. Steel has to fall to score. Okay, so when you shoot these, they're gonna fall over. Okay. If you shoot at it and it doesn't fall and you leave it, you don't get scored for it. Okay. We're not gonna get into challenging the calibration of steel today. That's for another day. These particular loose face poppers right here that aren't attached to the base, some are on a hinge and they just hinge up. These always fall. You'll never have a calibration issue with one of these. Okay. But basically you're gonna hit it, it's gonna fall over, it's 5 points. Okay. If you hit them really low, I've never actually seen one of these not fall, but on the hinged ones, if you hit them low, a lot of times they won't go over. This is meant to be the target. This is really the only thing that counts. If we challenged it in calibration, it has to be in here. But these loose face poppers are awesome because number one, I can carry 6 of them by myself. The other ones weigh about 88 million pounds. And the older and the fatter I get, the less I really want to drag them around. But these work great because there's no issue. You'll also see plates, okay? You'll see round plates and square plates. Plates we don't have any here. They're not as prevalent as they once were. Again, they have to fall to score. There's just for knowledge purposes, because we're not going to get into how you calibrate these or what it means, but a plate can never be, you can never challenge a calibration on a plate. It is what it is. If you either went down or it didn't. You don't see them very often. Once in a while, a club will bring a plate rack out because it's an easy 6 targets, but not very often anymore. So 99% of the time it's going to be a US popper or a pepper popper. The other place you'll see steel is in a hardcover application. This black, they'll have a steel plate and they'll use it to mask a target. It'll actually be a metal steel plate and you'll ding, ding, ding. Okay, if the guys are really pricked, they'll put a black steel plate behind this one, so when you shoot at it, you think you hit the popper and you didn't. So, and there's also steel no shoots. Okay, you can have a target piece of steel shaped just like a regular target, and it's a no shoot. And if you hit it, ding. So, -10, -10, -10. So, any question on steel? Oh, you can shoot at it all you want, yeah.
What do the steel no shoots look like?
They'll look like a USPSA target. They'll look like either one of those, and they will announce it. It'll be in the walkthrough. One of the things, if you read the rule book, I see this guy's bought the Amazon copy. It's great. It's great reading for insomnia. There is a rule in USPSA that the course description must be read verbatim. Okay. A lot of times people will start reading it and they'll start to ad lib what it means. What this really means is read the sheet. Okay. It's all you need. Read the sheet. If it's written correctly, all you need is the thing. And then again, if you read there, it'll tell you the things that need to be in there. Okay. Number of targets, number of scored hits per target, start start mechanism, stop mechanism, stage procedure, and start position. And actually, I'll read this just so you can get an idea. And this is actually the stage that we're going to shoot today. So this stage called beginner's luck. Obviously you can't see it, but you will a little bit. Scoring is Comstock, targets 6 USPSA, 1 US popper. Scored hits, best 2 per paper, steel must fall to score. Start signal is audible, stop signal's last shot. Penalties are per the current USPSA rule book. Start position, handgun loaded and holstered, both hands touching the top of the barrel. Stage procedure, engage the targets as available from within the shooting area. That's all you need to know, right? Then you're going to get 5 minutes to look at it and decide how you're going to shoot it. Obviously today we're not going to rush you to that. It's a pretty simplistic course. We didn't end up with as many people. I think people got sunshine disease. They sign up for this. If it rains, I'm going to go. If it's nice out, I'm going to stay home and do whatever, which is fine. This is a perfect amount of people because we can get more repetitions in and spend more one-on-one time with you guys. We may decide we want to change the course up after we go through it a couple of times and show you something a little bit different. We try to keep it pretty basic on the first one. But you should get that information each time. When the RO is setting the course up and gives that, you can ask questions, right? You know, a lot of times you don't want to ask them, right? It's a game of forgiveness. They didn't say you can't do it, you can do it. So as long as it's legal, right? Any questions as far as that goes? Okay. Another piece of equipment is this guy right here. This is your nemesis. This is representative of what a fault line looks like. And a fault line is used to demarc the shooting area, okay? They may be a shooting box. Larry's got one over here. You don't see these very often anymore, anyway. Remember when I said that this started from PPC, right, with a barricade? This is how USPSA started, with shooting boxes. And basically you had to be inside the box to shoot the targets. And you might go up to a course, there might be 6 of these scattered out, and you shoot this from over here, you shoot that from over there, right? And from that, it evolved to fault lines. And you'll see these on the ground, staked in. They got pinholes in them to put stakes in. And it'll basically give you a shooting area. Generally, they're painted orange. They don't have to be. Generally, they are, okay? You have to stay inside the shooting area. Staying inside the shooting area includes this piece of wood. I can stand on this. As long as I don't touch the ground on the outside, I can stand on this.
On or behind?
A line you stay behind is different, a little bit different. Generally, it's going to be an enclosed area, okay? Might be a rectangle, might be a trapezoid, might be a triangle, whatever the course designer needs to keep you in the area. And this is what they're going to use to determine where you can shoot a target from, right? IDPA is a little bit different game. They'll actually dictate how you shoot the targets. USPSA, if you can see it, you can shoot it, as long as it's in a safe direction, okay? We'll use the fault lines in walls or whatever to mask some things and force you to go to a certain area. It'll be done with course design and props. So you'll see these out on the ground, and I can stand on this. If this is this side of it, right, and I'm in the shooting area here, I can stand like that and shoot. If I touch the ground on the outside, I'm going to get a penalty. If I gain a competitive advantage, I'm going to get a penalty per shot. So that's something that can compound very fast. If this is a rear fault line to keep me in the back, right, and I happen to step out of it, right, is there any, unless I can see more from back here than I could up here, did I gain a competitive advantage? This is getting to real minutia. I'm further away. I didn't gain anything. It's still a penalty, but it's only going to be one. If we got, say we got a barricade here, and I fat foot and I do this, and now I can see all the targets around the other side of it, I gained a competitive advantage. I'll get one penalty per shot fired. So if I fire 8 shots around there, minus 10, minus 10, minus 10, minus 10, minus 10, you realize the most amount of points you can get on the target is generally 10. Doesn't have to be, but is generally 10. So you're going backwards pretty fast. There's no negative score, by the way. 0 is as low as you can go. So there's only, the only way you can go from there is up. So it does happen.
An important point about fault lines, you can step over them.
Yep.
Your foot can be on the outside, you just can't shoot from over.
Yep.
So you step out and boots and put your foot back. That's not a penalty.
Yep.
But if you're outside there and you pull
Yep.
that trigger,
Yep.
that's
It's only if you fire the shot while you're touching the ground on the outside. I actually was at a match a couple weeks ago, and the guy was left-handed, and they had this fault line like this, and they had this wall here, and it was one target behind it, and it was really, being right-handed, it was tight enough. And he was left-handed, and he actually went like this, and he would pick his foot up and shoot a shot, and pick his foot up and shoot a shot, and pick his foot up and shoot a shot. He was a big guy, and he was left-handed, and there was no way that he could have, you know, he could have been, he probably could have got his gun around there, but he would have had no idea where the bullets were going. It was kind of interesting. The other thing is, in this, you might have more than one shooting area in a course. I might have some orange fault lines over here and some over there. You're going to travel between the two. So you don't have to stay in them, generally. That's another discussion for another time. You don't have to stay in them generally, but if you shoot outside of them, if you shoot outside the United States or you shoot a IPSC sanctioned match, you cannot leave the shooting area. That is one of the differences between IPSC and USPSA. IPSC, you cannot leave the shooting area. They meant that to be a physical barrier. So you'll see this in USPSA more, quite a bit. And part of it's just because of ease of course design, right? If I'm going to build a course that takes up this whole room, do I want to run around the whole thing? And there may be an area in the middle I don't want you to shoot from because you may be able to see everything from there. So you may have a shooting area here, one over there. Generally, it's not more than 2. It could be 50 though, if I wanted to be that adventurous laying out my course. So that's what the orange is about. So. Invite you over for a walkthrough. They'll read the sheet, which I'm going to do. Okay. You can ask questions if you like. Okay. He's not going to ask if there's any questions, but you can ask questions if you like. And then you're going to get a set amount of time to inspect the stage and decide how you're going to shoot it. Okay? Make sense? This is a pretty simplistic stage, right? It's meant to be one directional, at least to start. We got a fair amount of people. We'll get through it at least a couple of times, and we can morph some stuff if we want. If you guys feel the little more challenge might be in the cards. Welcome to Beginner's Luck. Scoring is Comstock. Targets 6 USPSA, 1 US popper. Scored hits, best 2 per paper. Steal must fall to score. Start signals audible, stop to signals the last shot. Penalties are per the current edition of the USPSA rulebook. Start position, handgun loaded and holstered, both hands touching top of barrel. Stage procedure, engage targets as available from within the shooting area. Everybody understand that?
Yes. How are we situated on that barrel? With our back to the sun or facing it? Hands on barrel?
So I didn't specify, so you can do whatever you like. It doesn't say outs, and that's a good point, and this stage is actually set up this way on purpose, right? Sometimes it'll say outside the shooting area, completely outside the shooting area, behind the barrel, right? We don't specify, hands touching barrel, right? So does this suffice? Absolutely, right? It's your choice. Just be aware when you start like that, the limitations of it, okay? I personally wouldn't, because I don't, and it's a speed thing. It's not a natural position. Stepping into the area is nothing. So you got 4 minutes to look at it. Since this is, beginner's luck, we're here to help you any way we can. Any questions? Okay. Go ahead and have a look.
Range is hot, eyes and ears. Shooter to the line, the stage is here.
Make ready.
Make ready. Yeah, make ready. Yeah. Up in Franklin County where the green hills roll, there's a bay cut clean and a squad on patrol. Not looking for trouble, not trying to prove, just a clean stage plan and a smart way to move. Pistol bays waiting,
Steel standing tall.
cardboard downrange,
And tape on the wall.
clubhouse light in the morning haze.
Coffee in hand while we walk through the stage.
Are you ready?
Stand by.
Hear that timer talking when the morning comes alive. Make ready.
Chase the beat.
Earn the alpha.
Move your feet and keep it clean.
Speed and power.
Sight and trigger.
Hit factor.
Tells you what it means.
2 alpha.
Call it clear.
Patch it up.
And run it again.
Make ready.
Chase the beat.
Earn the alpha.
Range is clear at the end.
It ain't standing still, punching holes in paper. It's walls and ports and choices made faster. Where do you reload?
Where do you lean?
Where do you trust what your sights have seen?
Charlie's car.
Deltas 2.
No shoot, staring right back at you.
You can burn it down, but the math don't lie.
Points over time.
When the score goes high, are you ready?
Stand by.
There's one clean breath before the beat flies by. Make ready.
Chase the beat.
Earn the alpha.
Move your feet and keep it clean.
Speed and power.
Sight and trigger.
Hit factor.
Tells you what it means.
2 alpha.
Call it clear.
Patch it up.
And run it again.
Make ready.
Chase the beat.
Earn the alpha.
Range is clear at the end.
Finger high when you move. Muzzle safe all day. Listen to the range officer.
That's the only way.
If you are finished, unload and show clear. If clear, hammer down.
Poster right here.
Everybody waits till the final word.
Then the squad moves in when range is clear as heard.
Trap and Skeet on another field. Archery lanes and rifle steel. But today in the pistol bay dirt,
We're chasing clean hits.
and honest word. New shooter nervous, old hand grins. Everybody resets so the next run begins.
Tape on target. Tape on plates.
Good safe people make a good match day.
Make ready. Chase the beat.
Earn the alpha.
Move your feet and keep it clean.
Speed and power.
Sight and trigger.
Hit factor.
Tells you what it means.
2 alpha.
Call it clear.
Patch it up.
And run
Rankin County where the Green Hills roll. There's a bay cook clean and a squad on patrol.
Not looking for trouble, not trying to prove. Just a clean stage plan and a smart way to move.
Pistol bays waiting, Steve standing tall. Cardboard down range
And tape on the wall.
Clubhouse light in the morning
Haze, coffee in hand while we walk through the stage.
Are you ready?
Stand by.
Hear the time of talking when the morning comes alive.
Make ready.
Chase the beat, earn the alpha.
Move your feet and keep it clean.
Speed and power,
Sight and trigger
hit factor.
tells you what it means.
Do alpha,
Call it clear
patch it up,
and run it again.
make ready.
Chase the beat,
Earn the alpha.
range is clear at the end.
It ain't standing still, punching holes in paper. It's walls and poles.